And hello, everybody. Glad to be with you today. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've come on here and done a Facebook Live, and I've been busy. With my podcast. I've been busy working with my clients, working as not only a coach, but also as a marketing and sales director for a company as well. So I've been pretty busy, and I've just really gotten on fire with the idea of sharing with you, as I've been beginning to share with others and helping others to do, which is to be able to do some of this great work I've been doing with my podcasts and be able to have as much fun as I've been having with it and to naturally see what's possible in terms of the impact you can have with your audience, your guests, your opportunities to have clients and everything. So I wanted to share with you today how to create a six-figure podcast. So I'm super, super excited to share with you guys. If you're having a good time, please give me some hearts, give me some likes as we go along. And I just love to see the enthusiasm. I love to see all the energy that's going out for everybody. I'm all about fun. Fun is number one, absolutely. And if you're new to me, just briefly, I haven't put it all over the place on social media, etc. yet, but I am an energy and a strategic coach for your business. And I help you to have fun in your business, most importantly, so that you can maximize the impact and the clients and the money and everything. Because I know if you're listening in, I know for 100%, you want more fun. That you're someone that's felt repressed, suppressed in life. And the more you allow yourself to come out of the box and be fully you and have full fun being you, the more money you make. Okay, that's something I figured out. I figured out every single time I start having more fun and I'm doing something that feels strategic, it works. So that's why I'm the energy and strategy coach, and the energy is huge. So guys, I want to get into this. And of course, yes, I've been online forever and all those credentials, and I've got a master's degree in clinical psychology, and I've had an academy for invincible healers. So I'm a channel, I'm a healer. I help you guys on so many levels. So I'm an awakening wonder or whatever guide, spiritual guy, and all that stuff. So anyway, I want to get into it today on how to create this six-figure podcast. If you have questions, feel free to ask as we go through. I do have clear speaking points throughout this presentation today that go 30-ish minutes. Okay, so as you can see, I'm sort of looking at some notes. Number one, you could do everything. First of all, I just want to let you guys know too, before I get into the actual speaking points, you could technically do a lot of things wrong and still do a tremendous good, grow your podcast. I'm the top 3 podcasts in the world. And it's because I'm having a good time. It's the energy, guys. It's number one. I'm always looking to clean up some more technical stuff, but I got to be me, right? So what's the first thing? The first key along those lines is, number one, what is the energy and mission of your show? What's the energy and mission of your show? So what the heck am I talking about? So what's the energy that wants to create a podcast? Is it for me, part of it is enthusiasm and fun, right? So what's like in a word or in a few words, what's the energy that's behind your desire to create some sort of podcast? You don't need to know the name and all that other stuff. What type of, of course you want to have an idea of like the type of podcast. Ultimately, that's where the mission comes in, but what's the energy that wants to create it? When you think about, and then if you think about the way to dig into the energy after you get your initial download, like right now, what's the energy you want to create your podcast from? And that's the energy that will inform the podcast. Like with my podcast, it's fun, but it's also truth. Like those two words are really strong for me. Like it's got to be fun, but I have to be going after the truth. Whatever the truth might be, let's get to the truth. So, and what is your mission for your podcast? Like this is what all this energy, I told you guys, energy is number one. And then you get clear on your mission. I want to reach, 10 million, people in this category, whatever, my target audience, and I want this result. I want to see this result happening as part of my podcast. Like this is what's happening consistently for people through listening to this podcast. So something like that's we're not going to get deep into how to craft, some formula of a mission statement, but just starting to just write out like what comes to you from your heart, from that energy of fun and or whatever your word was, like from that beautiful energy you want to be in, what wants to get created, and then what's the mission coming from your heart. And honest to God, guys, it sounds so simple, but the mind wants to complicate everything. This actually is one of your number one keys to success with your podcast. If you don't have this, if you don't have the energy right, if you're not clear on the mission of your mission may evolve and change, that's fine. But if you don't have at least an inlet of like, man, this is where I sense it wants to go, then it's not going to work out. So anyway, so what is the energy and mission of the show? You know, to get that clear and write that out. That's number one. Then from that, then we can start to take a look. And again, it doesn't always have to start any one place, but generally that's where you're starting. And then you figure out things like, okay, what's the perfect ideal name for it? What, you know, how does that represent, when we look at like, what's your brand? You know, does it represent your brand? Whatever. So like with mine, I've got Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. That's the podcast I have that ranks to the top 3%, like I said. So when you consider like, you know, what's created that, it's in part because I was so amped up about doing the podcast. It was really clear to me, and I got clear on the mission. It's about bringing truth to people, truth to spiritual entrepreneurs that are there to bring more truth to more people, right? So I'm there to awaken and to bring good energy and bring expertise to help people awaken through all my guests and through what I have to share on my own shows. That's what it's all about. That's all part of the mission statement. Okay, so you want to get clear on that. Okay, so that's square number one. And then you want to create everything from that abundance of that energy and from that mission for your podcast. So what's number two? Okay, number two, envision the grandest version of your podcast. So really it's just dream big, you know, take time to really dream big into what's the grandest version. And it's sort of already in your mission statement, but then you want to tune in, like, am I limiting myself? Is it more like 1 billion people we're reaching? Are we really, you know, are we saving, you know, 10,000, you know, people per year, like getting more, maybe even more detailed, more specific? What's the greatest possible outcomes through this podcast? Continue to dream the grandest. I'm going to have every top, you know, thought leader in this space on my show. Like, you come up with these big, huge visions, and then and then what's going to come off the podcast? Like, I'm going to write like 10 books, or I'm going to, you know, you don't have to, but it's just like whatever your grandest vision is. And then I'll be on Oprah Soul Sunday or whatever. Like, what's your grandest vision? Like, really flesh out the picture, journal a good page or two on it. At least you can do more, obviously. But do that. If you love doing vision boards, maybe you create a vision board for whatever feels good for you, whatever you want to stay in the good energy, and all that is, you know, part of creating this podcast. So that would be number two. So let me get into the next steps, because we're going to get into some more details now. So the next step is developing your launch plan. You know, I do recommend you have a launch plan. When I launched mine, I did have a launch plan, but it was very informal. It's just like, okay, I want to do a podcast. Let's go. We'll start at this date. I'll get, you know, X number of episodes ready. And then I'll release them, you know, in this time frame, etc. And I don't even remember the exact time frame. I have to go back and look at my plan again. But like, you know, I didn't even have a big launch plan. But developing a launch plan can catapult your podcasts to another level faster. So when you're doing that, you're thinking about, well, who would I invite? I mean, just who do I want to invite? Like, based on the mission, who are the type of speakers that I want to bring onto the show? And you want to target people that just, first and foremost, they have something very valuable to bring your audience. Like, who are the people that you want to reach? Because remember, like, your podcast, any podcast goes out there, like, you know, if your podcast was only on YouTube, which, you know, it's not going to be on just YouTube, but it, you know, when it goes out on YouTube, when it goes out to Spotify and iTunes, all these places, there's people like that are looking for your podcast, right? They're going to find your podcast. When you have a launch plan, you're thinking about, well, who would I want to have on my podcast? Thinking in terms of some of the industry leaders and bringing them on to launch it and saying like, hey, we're launching this podcast with like 5 of the industry leaders in this space. I would love for you to be part of this, and then name their names. So this is what we're planning. You can be clear that, they're just only been invited, but when you say that, like, it helps you to bring those people on board. Now, I didn't do that with my podcast, but I have done that with with summits before. I'm like, I'm going to launch this summit with these type of people, and people get excited. Like, okay, he's serious. He's bringing these people on, or at least he's inviting them, right? And you may not get all of them, but at least you'll gain more of them. And then you want to ask those people, because usually they know other people in the industry, you want to ask them for other referrals. And because your speakers primarily in the beginning, especially of your podcast and in launching it, are going to be what builds your podcast. Like, they're going to bring the most downloads, the most listens and everything. And then the rest of the growth, a lot of the growth from there in part depends on consistency and, high quality podcasts, something people want to keep listening to, etc. Retaining audiences becomes a huge part of the growth plan. So anyway, so that's all part of the next steps. You do want to load up a lot of episodes up front to make sure that you're ready to go. You're ready to launch with a number of episodes all at once, to have, I don't think I did a formal like trailer, but a lot of times people do like a trailer or initial episode with you. And then what we do is we load in a bunch of podcasts up front. There's no absolute right number on that, but maybe at least 3. And then we can drip out episodes after that, maybe in a more intensive phase in the beginning, in the launch phase. Then you could do the podcast as much as you want. Like I just did Just Two Conscious Guys Talking. We launched that like on a twice per week basis. That was intense for that podcast because it's on my primary podcast. And now it's going to drip to like once or twice a month. So, and then I'll do an intensive, like once a year is the current plan for that podcast. So you'll figure out, so you've got to come up with a launch plan. And then what's your plan after it launches? What's the consistent schedule that you could commit to continue to share, with your information and your guests' information with the world. Okay, so you want to load up those podcasts. The technical part of like what support do you need? Some of us like to edit things. Maybe it's easier than ever to edit things, right? With video and audio and everything. But sometimes what we need to do is, because we don't want to do that or we're not very good at it, we can hire people to do those things for us. So who are the people you need to hire? There's all kinds of people out there that can help you. I don't have any specific recommendation today. Of course, if you want some more help with that, let me know. But basically, you got to find somebody. Maybe are they already on your team? If they're not, then you need to find somebody to help you with the tech. The tech really isn't real hard at all. Like, you could do it all by yourself. If you love doing that, there are people, like one of my people working with me right now loves doing the editing. So for right now, she's doing it. She probably will outsource it eventually. So, and then if you need help in wanting to launch it even bigger, like who are the people that are going to help you launch your podcast outside of your speakers? Are there influencers or other people out, that are connected to your industry, but not, your industry, that can help you? For example, let's say you're all about helping women to deal with early childhood trauma or something. You get all the experts together for that. So you're all there, but like you have other experts maybe you already have in your sphere, given you're probably, someone's already been connecting with people, people, right? And so you can bring those other experts that have that audience, within their sphere, but it's not their primary audience. Like, yeah, of course, there's a lot of women with trauma, early childhood trauma on in my audience already, that maybe they have their own podcast, maybe they have lists, whatever. So we partner with those people in different ways. Maybe they come on as a guest if they do have any expertise there, but maybe they don't. So maybe you share their podcast on your podcast, they share yours on theirs. Like that's all part, it might even be part of the launch plan. Maybe they're going to help you launch by promoting your podcast, and then early on in your podcast launch, maybe you do something to help them, how to help get some visibility to them, or just right after the launch, probably more likely. So, but you bring that together, you find agreements, you find a place that's a sweet spot for everybody. Okay. All right, so that's all part of that. We could go on and on about how to develop this launch plan. There could be a lot to it. There can be Facebook engagement with speakers to get the energy high, build community, get everybody just behind your podcast, like in the biggest way possible. There's all kinds of possibilities, but that gives you a start. All right, so the next number 4 thing I wanted to tell you out of 5 things is you want to create the shows that fully showcase your guests and you. Like, how am I going to fully showcase my guests and myself on a show? So it's always first with the audience and, and then your guests in mind. I feel it's best to do it that way at least. And then, okay, how can I showcase myself best within the mix of all that? So if you're having other experts on around, how to be better with money, let's say, how to get, higher vibe with money or something. So you have them coming on, sharing their wisdom, maybe doing their activations, but maybe there's a certain activation you like to do in that area. So you bring that activation for the guest and the audience on each and every interview, right? So you're doing an interview, maybe they're doing activation, maybe they don't, but then you bring something in and you do that. Plus, at the same time, you want to be sharing some of your own wisdom sometimes, perhaps, as part of each episode. Even if you're just asking questions, a lot of times you'll naturally share just a bit of your wisdom as part of that podcast. For me, I have the most fun, and that's all part of the energy of what I want to create on my podcast. So I share plenty on each episode. I'm not just passively asking questions, which is fine to do. You could have a podcast like that, but to really showcase yourself, you want to make sure you show up in a significant way on your podcast as well. So those are all parts of the things you can be doing that are key. So you want to figure out how long your podcast wants to be. There's obviously the long form, as they say, the 3-hour long. Then there's like 15-minute podcasts out there, or even less maybe, right? 5-minute ones, whatever. But 10-minute podcasts I've seen. It's all about what lights you up. I could make the argument for all of it. Well, the shorter ones people will listen to more likely because they're short. But then again, if you have a really juicy podcast and it's 2-3 hours long, people will listen through it. I do. I love podcasts. I love listening to them. So I would, listen all the way through anyway. By the way, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the comments as you're listening either live or through replay. And I may or may not see it, by the way, but I definitely will answer when I get a chance. So, what's next? So, yeah, you just want to get that outline. Like I said, you do have like the production of like some people have elaborate intros and outros and stuff, and so you want to decide like, how do I want to promote the show and myself through those intros and those outros. Can be part of the considerations. I actually, I think if you can get 1 or 2 things to pop in the intro or outro, that's great. You're probably not going to get more than that to pop. So, so there's different things to consider in those intros and outros. Intro, hey, if you're going to put an intro into it, with music and you talking or whatever, that sort of thing, then it better be something that gets them wanting to listen, right? That cues them up, their mindset, their energy and focus to want to listen more and to listen in the way you would like them to listen. So you just do, so you can maximize that with those things in mind. Your outro is about helping bring people back, in my opinion, and maybe leading them. If you wanted to, you could tell them to check out your website, things like that. So, and then you could also have your your commercials or whatever. You can put them into your episodes for your own business or someone else's business if you wanted, monetize it that way, which monetization is like the last thing we're going to talk about. So that's all that. And I'm just going to keep going. I've been looking for potential comments. I'm not really sure how many people are listening live. I have seen somebody, a few people coming and going. All right, so let's go ahead to point number 5. How will you monetize it? So when I say create a 6-figure podcast, well, what the heck am I talking about? Like, okay, how do you do that? Wow. It's what some of you may think. So probably what you're thinking if you're listening. So how you monetize that, it can be many different ways. Number one is when you put in your commercials and you're doing your own promo within your show. You can do promos at any point in your show, whether it's the end of the interview or even the beginning of an interview as part of your intro. Like, there's so many places to plug yourself if you want to, and then you have them take a step or to go to your website, go to a free gift or something, and then get on your list, all that usual stuff, right? And then I always recommend with a free gift that you have something for them to buy right away, because we don't want to lose them. We want them to take advantage of something right away. So you can make money from that. You can get them on your list. You can have them the audience member. So that's one aspect. And then there's a whole plan you could put together to, harness that. Like, one of my clients has built, quizzes are popular, right? A quiz that helps people to naturally lead people to wanting more, to take a next step, to get on a call with you, to do a deeper assessment beyond the quiz. So if the quiz was, okay, do you want to know, like, if your trauma from childhood, like, is still affecting you now? Here's the quiz. Here's the thing to look at. This is where you're at, like, give categories or whatnot. So that's a whole nother thing. So I get excited because there's so many different things you could do for your free gift. But that's just one idea. That's more complex, but could be as simple as the usual, a PDF, a book, an ebook, an audio, a meditation, etc. All kinds of things, but then it should lead to whatever your next offer is. Like, for me, I've got a meditate and make money meditation, which leads what? To a meditate and make money workshop or event that people can, purchase right away. So that's part of it, and that's a smaller part of it. But also, you build an aura, you build an authority by being a podcast host. Every single thing you got is like an asset, and you're the king or queen of that domain. Like, even when you have a Facebook group, like this is happening in a Facebook group, you're the king or queen of that Facebook group. I have a Facebook group. Everything, it helps strengthen your energy, strengthen your authority, strengthen your impact, and your perceived like, no trust, all that stuff, right? Expertise, etc. So, and I'm sure you're all great at what you do. So I'm assuming, we're not looking for any phonies, that's for sure. Anyway, my point is that, you're building an aura, through this podcast, and it really matters. Like, you can tell people you got a podcast, and even though there might be quite a few people that have podcasts these days, millions probably have podcasts these days. I know that's true. Then, you would think, well, what's the big deal, right? But no, it's still a big deal, and it's a bigger deal when you treat it as a bigger deal. But my point is, in being that authority, it opens up an opportunity for you, again, to speak maybe on someone's stage even, or to be invited to someone's event to interview all their speakers. Maybe they have a bunch of speakers coming to their live event. You could go there and interview them like I have. And you get to interview billionaires or Hollywood stars if they're there. You can go to different events as a podcaster. You're media now. Like, you get to be media, and you get credentialed, in that way as media. And you can get, opens all kinds of doors. And again, if you want to do the public speaking or get on stages route, it can lead to that as well. You could end up being a paid speaker or speaking to get paid, as we say, right? So getting in front of your ideal audiences because you're an expert now. You're in that authority. So that's all part of the way you can build the business. And then, every single one of your guests is, quite frankly, is a potential client. They're a potential client. Maybe even though they're high vibe money experts or marriage experts, maybe they need help there, or maybe they got something else they need help with that you help with, and they can become your clients. Now, I do not, as of this time, I know some podcasts are solely focused on like bringing primarily speakers on so they can become clients. Like that is a model out there. That's not the model I use or necessarily I'm behind. Like I could get behind it if it's done with heart and integrity and love and good energy, right? I'm fine with that. But for me, that's not what my podcast is all about. And yet it makes six figures, by itself alone, without even the other things that I might do. So your clients can become your guests can become clients. And the cool thing is often when you connect in that deep way from a show, they become ongoing clients in many cases, like long-standing clients that will refer other people to you as well, even more so than maybe your typical client. So it's really cool, the relationships you can build. To me, it's all about relationship building, and you do that in a huge way, through a podcast. All right, so what are some of the other opportunities? Your guests, you can become their affiliates. So if you want to allow them to sell something on the show, you can. You don't need to. Most of my shows are a free gift, but I have become an affiliate for some people. And, that does make some money. That does bring in some more money. Everything adds up. Everything adds up. More streams of revenue and income, right? Then you've got the possibility of them becoming an affiliate for you then, right? Like, well, I had someone recently reach out to me that was on one of my podcasts and said, hey, we wanted to send you a free gift to thank you for being on the show. And, we also would love to know if you wanted to promote anything to our people. And like, see how it happens? Like opportunities start opening up. People start wanting to, work with you. So on many different levels. And then you also have, the traditional JV partners. Now, many of you know what that means, but essentially that, you're going to promote them to your audiences and they'll promote you to their audiences, whether it's through the podcasts and or through emails or Facebook groups, etc. And you're reciprocating with each other. I really believe, personally, I'm more of a fan of limited JV partnerships and like this, so everything's so aligned, right? But if your thing is like you want hundreds of JV partnerships or hundreds of affiliates at least, and that's really true for you, then, great. Then you could knock yourself out. You could make loads of money, right there potentially. So there's all kinds of different opportunities, way more than I can cover or do justice to. There's the basics of ads. Ads usually don't pay much until you start reaching a lot of people, but there's a lot of significant opportunities because if you have a particularly niche market, people will pay significantly for those ads versus a run-of-the-mill ad on like a general radio show for like hypnosis or something. Like their audience members isn't necessarily particularly looking for hypnosis. Because you're niche, you can charge, more significantly for ad or sponsorship opportunities on your podcast. Now, I have not gone down that road. I've had people approach me. I've turned money down because I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go down that road, but it exists and people even pursue you. So what's the key to making those six figures is really tuning in and getting clear on, once you're clear on everything else that I talked about earlier, like what the energy is and the mission and the grandest version of the podcast, it's like, okay, using my expertise and the leverage of my genius, how can, and what feels fun and aligned or good for me, like, how do I want to build out my business plan for my podcast? And, you know, what is that business plan? Because it could look different for all of you. I don't tend to be a person like, this is how you just should do it across the board, like, and everything, okay? Like, that is not the key. Like, the key is to finding out, again, I said, like, I'm an energetic and strategic business coach. I mean, basically, so we would look at all those things to see what is the best fit for you and then create that. You do want to, you know, make it easier for yourself. As always, you want to have high ticket offers and all that good stuff so that it doesn't take a lot of clients, a lot of things happening for you to do well with your podcast or your business. So, you know, one of the opportunities I didn't even bring up yet is, like, not only have guests become clients, but guests have become clients that refer people to me directly for my services that become clients. And also, I've had guests refer people to me that never worked with me, maybe got experience of my work by being on the podcast, but have referred like a number of people to me, and then those people refer people to me. So there's huge opportunity, guys, with podcasting. So anyway, so I wanted to share all this with you. If you love the idea of, you know, building something that's really amazing through podcasting, and you want to create 6 figures or more through that podcast as your, you know, or more, you know, it could be more. I mean, there's certainly more growth for me with my podcast. I'm planning on it, right? I'm planning to continue that, the journey. So whatever it is that you want to do with this, it's possible. So anyway, I just wanted to share this brief, you know, training with you to get the wheels turning for you. And then the real magic is to just decide to do it and to get on that path and make sure that your focus is right, your energy is right, you have a strategy in place. My strategy kind of came, you know, was sort of always there, but then it got clearer and clearer to me as I did the podcast. But you don't have to go through all those growing pains like I did. You know, you can hit the ground running with a full launch that I didn't have. You can start it with, you know, more of a clear business plan. You won't have everything because it'll evolve, it'll change likely. But you can do that. You can do it right away. All you have to do is decide, oh my God, what technical expertise do I need? Just buy a nice mic, you get it connected to your computer or something, you know. Where do I record? You can record it through Riverside. You can do it, you can do Zoom, you can record it many different ways and put them on all the platforms out there. How do I do that? Well, you know, I don't literally do it myself, but that's easy. Like, you can look that up on a video. I mean, simple little instructions like that. Or what hosting service? You know, there's hosting services for the podcast. What do you use? You use BuzzFeed or, you know, Buzzsprout or whatever. I don't know. I don't even know the names of all of them. I use Libsyn. And I always, you know, share information with people on which one they want to pick. And, you know, if they don't know, I just tell them to use Libsyn because that's what I use and that's what's helped create my success. So, all right, guys. All right. Well, that's all I really have to share. Now, if you would like support, energetic and strategic support and figuring this thing out, and support to launch that podcast and a 6-figure one, I'd love to help you. So just reach out to me. Happy to help you with that. You can message me through DMs, whatever. You know, just reach out to me. Happy to help you out. And yeah, hey, I'd love to have the fun with you. I like to look at everything as like a party when we're creating these things. Like, rather than oh my God, I got to do this. There's going to be details. Now lighten it up. Let's let it be fun, you know, as fun as possible. So if you like that idea, get in touch with me and we're going to create it, okay? You're going to have your own podcast. It's going to be fun. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be what you want it to be, and it's going to thrive. All right. Okay, everybody, that's it for today. Lots of love and blessings. Goodbye for now.